Welcome to Revealing the Narc. Join me as I highlight narcissistic traits in celebrities and public figures. Everything here is my opinion and not professional advice. If you enjoy this analysis, please like and subscribe. I want to talk about an article that came out just today, I believe, in which there's a description of the Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Philip, having a nickname for the Duchess of Sussex, and it actually refers back to Wallis Simpson. So what I wanted to do today, I want to go through that article, and then I want to talk about some similarities between the two couples, Prince or King Edward, or no longer King Edward, and Wallis Simpson, and also Meghan and Harry. So let's get into it. The article is titled, Meghan Markle given 3-word nickname from royal, but he never said it to her face. The Duchess of Sussex has made it known she was treated with hostility, but there's one nickname from a senior royal she may not have heard of. Also, girl, please, you were the one with the hostility. Meghan Markle has previously spoken about allegedly cruel behaviors she faced from the royal family when she and Prince Harry had been living in the UK and had been part of the fold. Since the Duke and Duchess of Sussex left their royal titles and moved to California, they have opened up about the treatment they received, including alleged racism, exclusion, and bullying. They've opened up, but they're throwing a tantrum. Like, that's what I see it as. They are making up stories and throwing a tantrum because they didn't get their way. The late prince gave the former Suits actress the moniker of DOW, standing for the Duchess of Windsor, which was a title given to Wallis Simpson. Like Meghan, Wallis was an American divorcee, later marrying former King Edward VIII, who abdicated the throne. She was given the royal title of Duchess of Windsor, and the late prince that they're talking about is Prince Philip. Okay, so let's get into why Prince Philip may have come up with this nickname, and also talk about the parallels between Meghan and Wallis Simpson, Harry and Prince Edward, and then the dynamics of these two relationships. So let's start with Meghan and Wallis's backgrounds. Both are were American divorcees entering the British royal family, and this posed a challenge to the deeply entrenched traditions of the family. Wallis Simpson was twice divorced, and so was Meghan allegedly, at a time when divorce carried a significant social stigma, particularly within royal circles. So this made her relationship with Edward VIII controversial and ultimately led to his abdication in 1936. I want to say Wallis had a harder time with this than Meghan did. I don't think people even gave it a second thought that Meghan was divorced. Although this is a similarity, I don't think she faced any scrutiny because of the divorce. I mean, King Charles is divorced, Princess Anne is divorced, Princess Margaret had been divorced. So I don't think this was a big deal. So just to reiterate, Meghan is a modern American woman, allegedly, brought her own set of values and perspectives that contrasted sharply with royal norms. And what I mean by this is she wanted to be in conflict with the royal family. So a lot of the things she stood for, I think she exaggerated it, maybe to create even more conflict and chaos. And also her background as an actress, led her to have this outspoken nature, challenging what many viewed as the ideal royal profile. Let's talk about some of the media scrutiny that both had faced. So both had been portrayed as disruptive forces within the monarchy, and they fueled public disapproval and sensational headlines. Wallis Simpson was depicted as not just a romantic figure for Edward VIII, but she was thought of as a threat to the monarchy. Meghan has also faced media scrutiny, and if you ask Meghan, she was the most bullied person in the world. She did have some tabloid attacks and public criticism, and she was labeled as an instigator of family conflicts, and I think we've seen that in real time. For me, it's harder to analyze how media may have scrutinized Wallis Simpson simply because I wasn't there, right? I think it's a lot easier for us to look at Meghan and the things that the press have said about her because we're experiencing them in real time. Also, her and Harry's candid interviews have only intensified this media frenzy surrounding them. So this kind of reminds me of that South Park episode about the privacy tour. They claim they want privacy, but at the very least, Meghan does not. Meghan wants to be front and center. She wants to be on the royal carpet. She wants to be in the middle of everything, and she wants everyone to be praising her. Let's now talk about the impact of their relationships on royal dynamics. Wallis married Edward, and that led to his abdication, which was a monumental constitutional crisis, and it shifted the monarchy's lineage. So once that happened, it was Queen Elizabeth's father, King George, I believe, sorry if I get that wrong, who ended up becoming king, and that put Queen Elizabeth in the line of succession. Also, this abdication by Edward, it caused a rift not just in the family relationships, but it also was a negative reflection on the royal institution. Meghan also made significant changes within the royal family. I believe she motivated Harry to step back from royal duties, and often this is referred to as Megxit. The major difference here is Edward gave up the throne, and Harry, I don't know why, but he is still in the line of succession. And when I say I don't know why, I'm not talking about the history or any laws or that govern succession. I'm talking about how he has shown disdain for the monarchy, yet he can still inherit the throne. I feel that is a dangerous situation for the monarchy to be in. Another really big similarity is the influence they had over their partners. Wallis was seen as the driving force behind Edward's decision to abdicate, compelling him to prioritize his personal happiness over royal duty. Similarly, Meghan has a strong influence on Harry, and I believe she encouraged him to redefine or have this desire to redefine his role within the monarchy that was not something that could logistically occur. The strong influence of these women were catalysts for both partners to make significant life choices when it comes to royal traditions, expectations, and family. I want to also talk about a little bit about Queen Elizabeth's perspective. And again, I'm speculating a lot of this, and a lot of this is rumors. So I believe that Wallis was viewed with disapproval because her relationship created a royal crisis, and it changed the course of monarchy history. There are reports that suggest the Queen saw Wallis as a threat to the stability of the royal family. However, in contrast, Meghan received a warm welcome from the Queen, who embraced her into the family. She made many royal exceptions for Meghan, including having her be there for Christmas at Sandringham when she wasn't even engaged, I believe, or maybe they were engaged but not married. But this was something that Princess Catherine never was able to do. She didn't join the Christmas at Sandringham until after her marriage. Assuming that both women have narcissistic traits, and I believe that Meghan is a narcissist, allegedly, let's talk about how narcissistic qualities manifested in their actions. So I believe that both Meghan and Wallis, they exude charm and charisma that captivated their royal partners. However, they also both have strong personalities, and this raised eyebrows. And I think because we are living in it real time, the technology is so much better, and there's so much video footage and photographs of Meghan and Harry, we can see the way that Meghan controls Harry, is domineering over Harry, and I believe is a malignant narcissist, allegedly. So also, both Wallis and Meghan are perceived as strategic in managing their public narratives. they have a desire to control, or Wallis Simpson had a desire to control their portrayals in the media. This desire for independence, and I think that is incredibly evident in Meghan's behavior. So I think you and I can come to these conclusions about similarities between Meghan and Wallis, but Harry himself has made this comparison between his relationship with Meghan and King Edward VIII's relationship with Wallis Simpson. I was recently rereading Spare, and in the beginning chapters, Harry does talk about the final resting place for King Edward VIII and Wallis Simpson, and how they are separated from the rest of the royal family, and that they lived in exile, and even in death they are in exile. So Harry does have this impression or this feeling of connection with King Edward VIII, and I think that's telling. So I think Harry feels like he's in exile. However, in my opinion, that was a self-inflicted exile. We've heard Harry talk about his feelings of being a spare and how this has been a psychological burden on him. It's shaped his upbringing, and it has really skewed his perception of his place in the world. So he feels like he is constantly overshadowed by his brother. I think he has a lot of feelings of inadequacy, and he doesn't really understand his identity within the royal hierarchy, in my opinion. Interestingly, Edward VIII also felt like a spare despite being the king, because from when he was really young, his father greatly favored his second son, Albert, who is Queen Elizabeth's father. Even when he became king, he struggled with these expectations of his responsibilities within the monarchy, and eventually this led him, allegedly, to his desire for freedom, and eventually it resulted in his abdication for love, but perhaps this created a vulnerability that was taken advantage of. And I believe that was the same thing that happened with Harry. I think this was a place of vulnerability. This is a spot of vulnerability that a certain type of woman can manipulate for their own benefit. Both princes faced immense pressure from their fathers. Edward VIII felt a really big responsibility and duty from King George V, who expected Edward to learn about royal traditions and responsibilities so that when he does ascend to the throne, he is equipped with the skills and knowledge. Similarly, Harry has described feeling the pressure from King Charles to conform to expectations. However, I don't think that Harry had as much pressure as Edward VIII did, simply due to where they lie in the line of succession. Both Prince Harry and Edward VIII, they had strong emotional bonds with their mothers. Edward was very close to his mother, Queen Mary, who was a stabilizing influence in his life and instilled him with a sense of duty and tradition. And the same with Harry. However, I feel Princess Diana, at least I was alive and I saw, and we've seen videos and pictures, she really provided unconditional love and support to Harry. Some may say he was actually really spoiled, allegedly. Princess Diana was very warm. She was very hands-on and emotionally supportive of Harry. She would take him on trips and expose him to the world. However, it's thought that Queen Mary, she was caring, but she did represent the expectations of the monarchy, and she likely influenced Edward's decisions towards duty rather than personal happiness, which we know he later changed his preference. In my opinion, both Wallis and Meghan represented this, in quotation marks, freedom for Edward VIII and Harry, and I think both of them were really discouraged and disappointed with what happened after they left the monarchy. And now, of course, I don't know this for certain with Harry, but I believe Edward had voiced this desire to still remain in the royal fold. So I'm curious to know, what do you all think of this? Was Prince Philip right on in calling Meghan DOW? Do you see any parallels between these relationships? I think actually there's a lot of work that can be done here on comparing the two relationships. I feel that likely the same types of dynamics occurred in both relationships. But yeah, let me know your opinion. Please leave it in the comments. If this was interesting to you, please like and subscribe. And it goes a long way with the algorithm. And I'll be real, it gives me confidence to keep on going. So I appreciate all of you listening. And I will talk to you all soon. Goodbye.